age 96. I'm retired, widow, mom, grandma, aunt, friend. That's who I am.
Okay. And Dorothy, I know that you are kind of a lifelong resident of this area. Could you tell me where you grew up?
Okay. I was born in Tower, actually that's Stan Hospital, I think, February 18th, 1929. I lived in rural Tower, Kugler Township, until I left for college in Duluth at age 18. My parents, Art and Mabel Hendrickson, continued to live there. We had a large two-story home, once was a school.
Of your responsibilities to the family as a child?
As a child, one thing we had to do was haul wood in. We had a cook stove in the kitchen with some small pieces, and then a heater in the other room with what we called chunks. So that was one of the jobs we had to do. We had to do dishes. We had to help in the house. Kids then, back then everybody had jobs to do. You know, it was a family affair, and my mom and dad had a lot of work to do just with gardens, and so I weeded gardens, and it was all really very good.
Right. And where did you said that you went to school in Tower?
No, at School 40, a country school.
Ah.
A bus picked us up every morning, and it was a long bus ride, it seemed like, and the roads were not so good. So in the spring, we often had a week off before mud vacation because the buses couldn't get through.
And do you know where School 40 was?
Yes, it was in Vermilion Township.
Okay.
I would guess 7 or 8 miles away. That's a guess.
Okay. And it no longer is there, I'm assuming. Is the building still there, do you think?
No.
No, okay.
It's not.
Okay.
It was also used for all the social events in the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did you graduate from?
No, from that was through eighth grade.
Okay.
9th grade, we were transported to Embarrass High School.
And so that's from where you graduated.
Correct.
Okay. And then you said you went on to college.
I did a business college
And where was that?
in Duluth. It was called Duluth Business University.
Okay.
And so one of my co-graduating gals and I went to Duluth and rented a little apartment and went to business college there.
And was that a year or 2 years?
Pardon?
Was that a 1 year or 2 year?
It was a 1 year.
A 1 year. Okay.
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to use your training?
Oh, yes. So as soon as I finished that, I got a job at Prudential Life Insurance, downtown Duluth. Regular office work, a little bit of everything. Bought a policy I still have. And where else did I work? Well, then when I moved up to Virginia, when I got married, I worked in the office at Clute Peabody, which was the shirt factory.
So whom did you marry and when did you get married?
Okay, I married my high school sweetheart,
What was his name?
John Aronen.
Okay, and how did you, did you date, so to
Yes,
speak?
yes. It was a lot of holding hands during things going on at school.
That was the dating
That was the
yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
At the time, they had no money. His family didn't. So they didn't have a car, so his older brother had one, and once in a while he was able to sneak away with the car. Or friends, couples. So.
Did you live near each other, or where did you
No,
live?
no, it was, I don't know if you go by miles, it was probably 20 miles.
Oh my, that's a distance.
Yeah, no, we were not.
And what did you do for fun?
What did we do for
Your
fun?
game.
We went to the movies when he could afford to buy tickets
In Virginia.
in Virginia. There were dances at the school. After Friday's last hour, somebody would play the piano, and the people would dance. Often the women would dance together, but I had a partner.
Oh, that's wonderful. Did you engage in any sort of extracurriculars in high school?
Yes, I was on, it was called declamatory at the time. So I did quite a bit of that. I was a cheerleader. I was an officer, a class officer from time to time. I was involved.
Yes, absolutely. When you were young, did you come and visit the Tower area?
Yes, we did. We went to church at the Lutheran church here. So on Sundays, we would ride in with my dad in the milk truck, and he'd drop us off at the church. And then we'd meet him at Rudy's. Do you know where Rudy's is?
No.
Okay, it's where the bakery, they sell the scones.
Oh, sure, at the bakery, sure, the Tower
Yeah,
Bakery.
that was Rudy's store.
Oh, and
And-
was that a grocery store?
Yeah, a little bit of a grocery store. They had some tables in there, so they sold soda, they sold pop, and big candy counter, penny candy. You can get a whole bag for a quarter.
Fun. And so, once you graduated from high school and you went on to college, and then you got married,
Yeah.
where did you and your husband live?
We lived in Pike River, that tavern that's across from the co-op. We lived upstairs there for a while because they ran the tavern. We also lived in Virginia for a while. And then when we acquired our cabin, we lived there in the summer and an apartment in Virginia. At the time, it was post-World War and housing was impossible. All the GIs were coming home, and so it was really difficult to find an apartment. Our first apartment was a third floor upstairs, hot. Thank goodness we had the lake to go to.
Now, when did you acquire your lake place? It's on Lake Vermilion, right?
It is. I think I wrote it down.
And it's in Pike Bay, right?
It's on Pike Bay. It was our first house.
Dorothy, did you build the house yourself?
The house, we had a smaller cabin
Okay.
that we used all the time. And then the house is a modular. So we tore down the little yellow cabin and brought in the modular one half at a time.
How many children did you have, Dorothy?
I have three. My daughter is the oldest, and then I have two sons. They all went off to college, so none of them are living around here. My daughter now is in South Carolina, married and as a family, or a grown family actually. And my two sons are both in the Minneapolis area.
Now, eventually, you said you started off very poor, but your husband did eventually help start a business, right, in Virginia?
Yes,
And what is the name of that business?
Arrow Auto Supply.
And how did that come about?
I think one of his brothers started working for an outfit that did windshields and whatever, glass work. And so when he was going out of business, I think the brothers bought it, for my recollection. This goes a long way back. So that's what he did all our married life.
And do you know how long he worked at that business? How many years?
Not really.
30, 40 years?
Oh, probably 30,
Okay. 30.
I'm guessing.
Did you help with the business at all?
No,
No.
I did not. I worked in Virginia at a different job.
Getting back to your family's dairy, how involved were your children with the cows and the production of dairy products?
Okay. Our dairy was very well received in Tower. Valley View Dairy was big stuff. And so we all had to help. I can milk a cow like anybody else can. And we did not, my dad didn't believe that we should work in the hay fields. So we had hired men during haying season. We just cooked a lot for them. Gardening we all had to do. Picking weeds and potato bugs and all that good stuff.
And then you also helped, of course, in the house. What else did you do as far as the production of the milk? Did you have to wash bottles?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was before electricity. So to cool the milk, there was a contraption. It was cone-shaped, and it was metal. And they put ice and water inside, and the sieve on the top, and the water dripped down around this cone and cooled off. And somebody had to be there to hold the bottle and move it before it overflows.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long was your family business active?
Do you know how long you had the dairy?
Seemed like forever. But I don't have dates.
Okay. But it started when you were a young child.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And it
was
was,
still going when you went away for
yes,
college?
absolutely.
Okay.
So many years, probably 30 years.
Did
Don't
you
quote
have to
me on
milk
that one.
cows before you went to school in the morning?
No, we didn't have to do that. We had to milk cows after we got home from school, but we didn't have to do it in the morning.
Where was the milk distributed?
In Tower,
Only in Tower?
yes.
Okay.
In the winter school time, my dad, we had little bottles of milk that he brought to the school. So we had, the
For the school?
half pints or whatever they were, to the school, and the rest were all delivered to each house.
Okay.
And then once a month on a Saturday, he'd go around and collect.
Collect the money that they owed. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So makes it interesting. I haven't thought about these things for a long time.
Now, what did you do when you went to your lake place, Dorothy? What were some of the things that you engaged in there?
Parties.
Okay. Was it just family, or were there people from the lake that joined you?
Well, we had a lot of friends who didn't have cabins, so we often had weekend guests,
Oh, nice.
overnighters, and family and whatever. But you know, you don't have to do much at the lake. The lake is there to entertain you. Well,
So swimming and boating? And
yes, we always had a little rowboat. I mean, we didn't have any big fancy runabouts or anything at the time. But, and we would row over to, there was or Pike Bay, near Aronson's, there was a place there that you could row to, and they sold ice cream and candy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. It was like Pike Bay Resort at one time, but I know what you're talking about.
Yes. So we would row over there. We were strong.
Yeah, I bet you were. You had to be strong. And then you would buy candy or whatever, and you'd row back. So
Yeah.
this was part of your. This wasn't part of your growing up years, though. This was just part of your adult years, or did your family have a cabin when you were growing up?
No, it was growing up. We got the cab. My folks had property out there, but not my grandparents. They built a cabin so my grandpa could go out there and fish.
Oh, okay.
And my dad was really busy with the dairy. So he thought, if we build a little cabin, he will go out there, and he and Grandma would go out there and stay. I don't think he ever spent a night there. But he was out there a lot.
Okay.
It was just a little cabin, and my dad bought several lots. So I've got a sister who had bought some of them, and I got some of them. So I've come, right now it's some nieces that own the adjoining property.
So the lake was a really important part of your growing up years, and still is, right? It was the same property?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A little cabin that they built so that Grandma and Grandpa could stay there. The Hendrickson grandparents.
Okay, the Hendrickson grandparents. As you grew up in this area and began to know a lot of people in this area, what would you say were some of the outstanding traits and beliefs of the people in this area?
I think people were certainly more neighborly, if that's the way to put it. They'd be ready to help out at any time. You could call on your neighbors. Now I'm afraid people don't even know their neighbors a lot of the time. And like work on the farm, when there was a big project, several of the farmers would go to one farm and take care of it, and then to another farm. Neighbors, not a work crew. So it's easy to. It's nice to look back and only remember good things. I'm sure there were things that were not so good about it.
How have you seen Tower change in the time that you've lived
Well, I
around here?
used to think it was a big city. Living on a farm, you know. We came in, everybody was friendly. Rudy's store, which is now the Sulu's, it used to be where we'd wait for my dad after Sunday school because he would do the route. And they would have all this wonderful penny candy, and so we could pick a bag full, one of this and one of that. And so I think people were absolutely much more friendly. I think they needed each other more to begin with,
Right.
help each other out. No, I don't find that true. I mean, I live in an apartment building in Virginia right now, and generally my next door neighbors are friendly, but I don't really know the people there. Of course, I'm up here in all summer, so it makes somewhat of a difference, but I think there is a big difference.
Where did your grandparents come from?
My grandparents, the Lees, my mom's grandparents, came over from Norway, both of them. My Hendrickson grandparents she was Norwegian, he was Swedish, but they were raised here in the States.
Did you carry on some of the traditions that they brought with them?
Some Christmas traditions, lutefisk, which nobody in my family eats, but and cookie baking. I'm sure there are some that off the top of my head, I can't think of.
Some of the others, yeah.
It's mostly in the line of food, not anything else.
Who were some of the characters in the community that you kind of remember?
Okay, well, across the highway from where we lived, there was an old guy, a bachelor who lived by himself, who would come, and we had a library at our house, an extension library from Ely. They'd come once a month and bring new books, and so I had access to books all the time. Anyway, this old guy would come and borrow books. The books would smell so bad. We had to leave them out in the porch for 2 days to air them out. Is this interview getting too long?
No, no, it's getting very interesting. I also wanted to know, was there any other characters or teachers or people in the community that you respected and or thought a little strange or had interesting interactions with?
Well, you always really respected your teachers. And back then, at least once a year, the teachers lived in the teacherage, right at the school. There was, at School 40, there was, in the back area of the school, there was an apartment for the teachers. And so women didn't have cars. And so somebody would bring them there and then take them home for the weekend. So parents would invite the teachers for a dinner at least at once a season.
Okay.
Other than that, we had in high school, last period of Fridays, we had dance time. Everybody went into the gym and somebody played piano and we polkaed and schottished and all the rest of it.
What is the value of oral histories, of what we're doing right now?
Oh, my kids loved what I wrote. They didn't know half of this. So I think it's a great project. Things may be brought up, but you just assume they knew it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great project. I'm grateful for good health, good friends, and our beautiful environment.
What a wonderful way to end. Thank you, Dorothy.
You're welcome.